What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're watching some more AI fight each other, this time on the second Terran mission. I hope everything goes well and we don't encounter any silliness. Alright, so I'll turn off the frame counter. And I guess I'll introduce our players by ID. We have good old Magistrate hanging out in the bottom left-hand corner. He's going to be doing a similar build to what he saw in the first Terran mission, if you remember. Down here in the bottom right area, we have Kerrigan's Sons of Korhal. But you know, I might just remove Kerrigan entirely and make this Minsk or something. Cut out the middleman, you know what I mean? And then circumnavigating the globe here, I do believe in the top right-hand corner we have the next player up. It is a Confederate player. This has come to join the fight, one of the additions to this particular Terran mission in the campaign. Premise, or whatever, is, hey, the Confederacy's here, and they're going to be doing some funky stuff trying to liberate this colony themselves. And if they do so, like by default, you got this guy smack dab in the middle, who is essentially Randall from the previous game, if Randall survives. Otherwise, he's allied with the Confederates to begin with. But the idea is that either way, he's probably going to get focused down, not only by the adjacent Zerg player that I'll introduce in a moment, but also potentially, like if it is Randall from the previous mission, and he is allied to you, he's obviously going to get focused down by the Confederates as well. They don't take kindly to traitors. We do have the recurring cast of Zerg characters. We do have Gorn in the top middle, Zaz in the top left, and Arak in smack dab in the middle, sharing space with Randall, would-be Randall, assuming he lives. Hey, he did live in the last castover, so we'll assume he does live, but he will be unallied. Despite the fact that he presumably did live, he'll be unallied to the Confederates and Magistrates, just because I haven't gotten around to actually slapping down the triggers for that sort of thing yet. I'm sort of waiting it out a little bit. Got early expansions going down for a couple of these players. Of course, Zaz taking his customary early hatch. And I saw the Magistrate putting down a supply depot, but yet to throw down a command center. At least he moved his depot away from where he's going to put his command center. Classic move. You will notice that the AI has opted to take a south-facing expansion over here. Gorn has decided that that's his base. I obviously think it's probably smarter for him to take it up here. I did build this resource area with the idea that you could take it from either side, because the gas is in the middle. And it kind of favors Zerg anyway, not just positionally, but also they normally build multiple hatcheries in a base, particularly an expansion that lasts a long time. Not just the AI, but human players will do this as well. And so you can kind of get more efficiency out of that, whereas you're probably stuck on one command center and one nexus as the other races. So, big surprise there. This map also still plays up heavily on the idea of inefficient resource area placement. So while you do have a lot of minerals in some of these bases, they're not placed in the best positions for like opportune mining, ideal mining. And this is something that I think, generally speaking, will continue to be a mechanic or a trait or something to that effect of just how these things usually open up. And you're going to see that I end up just using that as a way to sort of quote-unquote balance, but just in general, like, provide different characterization for the different maps. So we do have a single Marine sitting here, getting destroyed by a vulture that's popping out. Has also been aggroed by the other ones. So soften up another one of those Marines. He's a little, you know, Randall's half-heartedly attacking, okay? He really wants to be allied with the Sons of Korhal. He doesn't want to be allied with these other clowns. So he's like not really taking this fight seriously, generally speaking, but you know. If only he if he only had a brain, you know what I mean? Don't worry. The 2-factory opener from Kerrigan means that things should be alright. Double mines, or sorry, double vultures. Yeah, just send them out. It's not like you're under attack or anything. Oh dear. Well, you do have something going down in that that doohickey you call a machine shop, so maybe it'll help you out. Almost got another attack out. So there are now 6 Marines hanging, pelting this Goliath to death. Love that. And we are seeing the early pressure pay off in dividends, pay for itself. Looks like a attack from the Terrans in the top right was rebuffed. Meanwhile, some early Marines are going to run out here and try to see what they can accomplish in Zaz's base, only to find death at the hands of sunken colonies. We're now down to 5 Marines, 2 of which are, well, now 1 of which is slightly weakened. And there you go. This vulture should be able to clean up the rest of these. There you go. Look at that lovely bloodbath. But hey, this expansion has gone down behind it. So even though there's a lot of losses, the fact that the Kerrigan player didn't lose any base infrastructure, just I don't even know if they lost a single SCV. I think they just lost a lot of military units. It's actually not as bad as it seems. And all he's got behind this are some Marines. So he's probably going to shut down this factory over here that's being put down, assuming he goes at any point. But presumably there's, I guess there's probably not any siege mode just yet. There is a vulture speed though. If only he knew how to micro. If only he knew how to move his units out of the way. Oh, man. He does have a +1 already somehow, but he's also getting tickled by Zerglings, so this expansion might end up just flat out going down. He will be able to cancel that structure, though the AI is capable of doing such things. They are not so capable of using Goliaths in any fashion. And this is, again, where we're still like underscoring just how important it is that the AI knows how to do basic things like kiting. They would have handled themselves so much better against the Marines, both instances where they fought Marines, and in this case against the Zerglings. They wouldn't have had their armory and factory potentially going down just because of a couple of Zerglings. There's even more Marines streaming in here now, so this attack is going to be quite deadly, more so than we potentially expected. And the tank will go down here, much to my chagrin. Try as he might, he will not be able to lose this tank. Well, I guess she might, right? We don't want to be misgendering here. But Zaz has been allowed to comfortably take a 3rd base here, starting to take a 3rd base. They've got okay saturation in their natural and decent saturation in the main. So despite the presence of a mixed army over here from the good old Magistrate, we are seeing some pressure being put on Kerrigan. I don't think Kerrigan will be making it out alive here, and we are seeing some pretty strong forces of units from our pal here, Zaz. So I would expect that a significant amount of death will be occurring, and it will mostly be Terran death. That being said, this 3rd base is being shut down. Target selection on point for Magistrate. I thought he was just going to run up here and mess around with Arak, who has taken a 2nd base, is now trying to take a 3rd base, has a Zergling over here that could try to defend this, but, you know, a little busy. A couple Zerglings, actually. It's just hard to see them when they're borrowed on asphalt. We're trying to work on that. We'll see where we go there. More attempts here being made to expand behind this, and amongst other things. And dead. Randall, the backstabbing motherfucker, he said, "You nuked me last map. You're dead." So, small mixed bio and air army showing up over here, massing up. Looks like they will be descending upon the mineral line of Arak in his main. He's got decent mineral saturation around this place too, as a matter of fact. But unfortunately for him, I don't think he has much in the way of a standing force, and he also doesn't have that much in the way of hatcheries. He's getting a macro hatch in both of his main and his nat. Ramp will help him out a little bit here, but the sunken colony is not, you know, accompanied by anything else, so only going to be good for a couple of bio kills here. Start to aggro down the Wraiths as well. Will we see anything in response? We do see some Hydras, but remember, Wraiths are light units. They don't take very much damage from Hydras, neither do infantry, and there's a single medic over here patching them up, so... Meanwhile, a single Marine has found his way into the mineral line over here, just to fuck with this overload, of course. And Zaz, now his natural is completely desaturated, thanks to attack force from the one and only. 1 million fire bats have descended upon this command center, which has somehow been allowed to complete production. See you, nerd. Somehow this guy has built exclusively infantry. He has got stem. He's got marine range. But he does not have any upgrades. Is he even getting any? Has he even been touched? He does have a nuke silo. Dude, Randall's coming into this game. He's prepared. He's looking to put the hurt on these Terrans who nuked him last game. I mean, I guess Kerrigan didn't nuke him last game, so this must be a long con to try to get rid of the Magistrate here. It's like, all right, take apart your friend and nuke you. Meanwhile, Iraq has somehow managed to fend off the Confederate assault. You have a lot of action happening across the map. Got some Hydras from Gorn investigating the expansion of the Confederate player. Just a couple of Ahmeds here to defend. We'll be able to repel that Hydra. But 2 Mutas now, kissing a single fire bat. Mutas were one of the most recently heavily changed units. Not changed really that much without any upgrades or anything, but there is now an upgrade that gives them 150% damage on all of their bounces, so only their bounces gain increased damage. It sounds a little bit larger as far as a number is concerned than what it might actually end up resulting in. But the gist of it is that it goes from dealing, say, 4.5 damage or something like that to it's 1.5 times that, so 3 would become 4.5 as an example. Do have a nice bloodbath coming in here as well. Cloaked ghosts, but nothing to really back him up, so. You have an Overlord as well here, just seeing what's going on, observing this man. And now a giant army of... it's actually a mixed army, so you got some Firebats here owned by a different player than some of these other units. I like that all that's left of the of Brass's army, of this guy, of Randall, all that's left is Firebats. The rest are just walking into the meat grinder that is the Magistrate's forces. And unfortunately for Kerrigan, her last-ditch expansion there was just left for nothing. All for naught. Looks like that Muto will be going down shortly, along with that Hydra that's behind it. But yeah, I think Randall may have overstepped his bounds here. He did not let his nuclear arsenal be known quite early enough. And now there's a couple of tanks and a couple of homies pushing down into his realm there. That's you know, that's just a damn shame, Randall. Maybe you should have thought twice before allying with Confederate scum, you know what I mean? So we are seeing quite a bit of action over here. Like I was expecting, more or less, but Randall has recalled his force. A stunning move, a stunning and brave move. His force, comprised almost entirely of Ahmeds, is now trying to fend off an Arak assault. Arak has been allowed to continue existing and has ballooned to 3 hatches in his main, or his nat rather, 2 in his main. No follow-up expansion. May have tried to take this again, but I'm not seeing much in the way of anything there. More tanks being deployed. Well, it's the same number of tanks, I guess. The rest of them have been somewhat intercepted here. And range upgraded Hydras will put that vessel to bed. Another expansion attempt from Arak. He's going to try to take this for real this time. Now we've got some Lurkers dying to Vultures. Never thought I would say or see that. And this Mutalisk harassment will be all for naught very soon. We do see even more mutas being morphed as the Zerg third is once again being taken. Nobody's been interested in this base, it seems. That's all right. Giant ball of tech over here for Gorn. I don't know what happened to his production. Maybe he lost some. I couldn't tell you, but he's also got some tech down here. He's got a hive in his base. He's taken this as a third, and he's setting this up now as his fourth in the top left. Dude, this guy is looking large, living large, looking large. We've got a pretty large army for the Zerg players at this point, and it seems inevitable that the Zerg are going to come away with the W unless the Magistrate can actually power successfully. He does have 3 mining bases right now. That's 3. 3 is a pretty powerful number. And you know what? Randall's actually still alive over here. He might cockroach himself back into a position where he can do some damage. I wouldn't bet on it, but he might make it happen. Let us hope and pray for George Randall. See what he can come up with. And yet another hive being built. Actually, I think the first hive, 2 hives, for Arak. He's ascending into the 3rd tech tree, or 3rd tier tech. May end up dropping some Ultralisks in the near future. Still kind of lagging behind on upgrades over here, but that's all right. The Zerg are cleaning up the Confederates now. And with the Confederates being cleaned up, I would say it's probably unlikely that Randall ends up surviving. He is probably the next target afterwards by the Zerg. But there are quite a large number of units over here, as well as the thumbnail to this video. And so we are seeing a good fight being put up by the Magistrate. He's trying to use his 3 bases to his advantage here, and has not yet bothered to set up a 4th, but maybe is attempting to in the future. Nice terrain block. I'll fix that later. And yeah. It's pretty much just a ticking time bomb at this point, though the Mutas are pulling back and now trying to deal with some infantry in the middle of the map and pick off Randall's engineering bay. I mean, why would you pick off his engineering bay? He only has +1 weapons. He needs that. Hey, that's not fair. Oh, poor guy. Meanwhile, pretty decent force over here, but unfortunately there is a borrowed lurker, and you can't see that at all. Good luck. And that means that this force will probably get cleaned up without dealing too much economic damage to Arak, especially since there are some reinforcements from Arak and some Mutalisks peppering the skies from Zaz, helping his brother out, helping out his homie. Hello, I'm a Vorvaling. I move at the speed of light. See you later, dude. And that means we've got pretty much no standing army at this point. I would assume, anyway. There's some units being defense shuffled around here, and we do have some science vessels, which could cast a radiate at any point. I don't have access to their energy just yet, but, you know, you never know. Looks like the 3rd of Arak will finally be denied a 2nd time, or maybe it's a 3rd time by this point, because that's 3. But you can't really fight against the onslaught of Zerg at this point. You know, you got some Guardians. All right, sure, you're picking them off with your rates. You're trying your hardest, man. You're doing your damnedest. I don't know that it'll be enough. I heard an irradiate go off, but I'm not sure where it went. Maybe onto that Overlord? Oh, maybe it was just me hearing things as well. I could be going mad. Quite a considerable amount of units spinning around over here. And imagine one player trying to fight off all of these enemies. He did successfully kill the hatchery, but the extractor means the AI will consider this a valid town and will continue to rebuild it. So we should see Arak sending a drone down here to rebuild it as soon as he's got the funds. But he might be more interested in just spamming out units and finishing the job here. Randall has yet to fall completely, but he's still sending units around trying to figure out what's going on with his main. Unfortunately, all he's scouting is his own doom. No units in that bunker. Firebats will not be sufficient. And yeah, would you believe it, Randall lived this long. You know what, his ally is not completely out of the game yet either. I just assumed he's dead, but he's not really back in the game. It must be said, especially with his natural now being taken by Gorn. Still a bit weirded out as to why nobody's interested in building a base there, but you know. Bunch of Mutalisks descending upon the opponents here. I'm not sure if they have the 2 Mutalisk upgrades. I lost my train of thought in the middle of trying to explain the Mutalisk changes, so obviously the bounce changes are one thing, but you also have another upgrade that doesn't require hive tech. Ooh, nice irradiate. That will be very cost efficient. And yeah, it's a bit more than that. There's the bounce damage upgrade, which requires the hive, but then there's an upgrade that gives an additional bounce, a 4th bounce. So obviously these 2 upgrades synergize very well with each other, and they don't really modify the unit role, the combat role, or the unit identity of the Mutalisk. They just enhance it a little bit and make it so that it's a little bit easier for you to justify using them in the mid-game. Odds are they're still going to need a little bit more going on for them to... I'm trying to keep track of the bounces. It looks like they're still on 3, so... Or on 3 hits, 2 bounces. So... No irradiates on those lurkers yet. I did tell the AI to do that, but, you know, sometimes they don't listen to reason. And it would appear that Zerg are slowly but surely cleaning up this area as well. See you later, Confederate scum. Every time the Magistrate tries to explore the map and expand his sphere of influence and contend these expansions that are being set up, oh man, it's a losing battle now. He's lost some infrastructure. He's been suffering losses of his SCVs at his third, presumably at his NAT is not far behind. And he's got actually a lot of really important infrastructure here. Blinking factories, as well as 2 starports. Nothing blinking just yet over here, but the fact that he won't be able to reinforce as quickly without those structures leaves him in a very poor position. I think it's just about time to call this one and say that it's probably the Magistrate claiming victory. I mean, defeat, sorry. The Zerg claiming victory over the Magistrate. I thought he irradiated a doodad for a second, but that's all right. Who cares about irradiate damage? We can just build more. You saw the EMP Shockwave upgrade in action there, where irradiate casts EMP Shockwave when upgraded, and that makes it a bit more of a positional upgrade, of course. I might end up reworking that a little bit so that it's a bit easier to make it happen. Something to the effect of, oh, holy hatchery, dude. Nice. 5, 6 hatcheries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 hatches and a Nidus. Love to see that. But something to the effect of like taking the EMP upgrade and saying, hey, I've got... This is brutal. I've got this irradiate cast, and maybe every so often it will fire off an EMP round. So the idea is maybe every 2 seconds, every 4 seconds. The radiate itself only lasts 7 seconds. So maybe one time at 4 seconds in or 3.5 seconds in, like halfway through its duration. And then another time at the end of its duration. And if the unit dies before the first one fires off, it still fires off a guaranteed one, but otherwise will not last. I think that might work because EMP itself doesn't immediately delete shields or energy. It deals 100 damage to shields and energy. So it's a little bit less effective. And since it now requires a bit more positioning on behalf of you and potentially your enemy if you're irradiating your enemy, I think it could be more interesting that way anyway. So it's just a couple of ideas that I've been having, and I think it makes sense to blabber about them on now because we're just watching the death of a man at the hands of many Zerg here. And so this is what you'll be going up against when dealing with... when trying to play the second mission of Hydra. I hope you are ready. Tier 4 melee upgrades. Love to see that from Zaz. A little behind on his flyer upgrades, but that's all right. Not nearly as much as his allies here, especially Arak. Arak has barely been playing this game, I feel like. He's got some lurkers, though. Pretty exciting to see that. Oh, and an Ultra. Love to see that, this time from Gorn. And that will do it, man. That'll seal the fate. We completely missed the death and demise of Randall, but I'm sure you can go back and watch it on the minimap if you really want to see that guy die. He backstabbed Kerrigan and destroyed him. He's very rude. And I suppose that will do it for our cast over here of... I think this is our 4th one, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even think I mentioned that the previous one was 3, but, you know, that's fine. I said 3 a lot this time, so... Same old thing. Same old, same old. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, we got a lot of exciting changes coming up to Hydra's game state as soon as we end up having a bit more in the way of data entries to pick from for the sake of modding. I can add in some more units, even if they have the crappy placeholder graphics that we're stuck with for now. And I've been doing a lot of organization, doing a lot of planning. Boring stuff on my stream, but it results in a much more reasonable, complete understanding of the project, and I think it'll really help us going forward. So what to look out for next? I will definitely be doing more castovers where I have the time, and they don't take that long to make, obviously, so shouldn't be too difficult to do, but I'll probably be showcasing the Zerg losing again. This is the first time I think we've seen Zerg win, because of course in T1, the Terrans claimed victory. We'll probably show off the the first Protoss mission, or maybe the first Zerg mission in AI mode, Melee AI mode. So stay tuned for one of those up next, and otherwise, I'll catch you on the next piece of content you see me in. Thanks, and bye.